a good night to you, Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Once again, it is time for Talking Points. My name is Sheldon Scott. I'm here with you up until the 10 o'clock hour. Yes, indeed. Hope that all of you had a wonderful weekend. Those of you that were able to join us yesterday evening for initial Sunday program. No, it wouldn't be every Sunday, but it will be on any Sundays that we have time. We are able to do it. We're going to do the Sunday program. So I don't know what my schedule looks like for this weekend thus far, but we will see what happens on Friday. By Friday, we'll make an announcement as to whether or not we will be having a Sunday program, yeah? Quite a quite a bit of feedback in relation to that one. Quite a few people saying, boy, make sure you do that again, boy, the Sunday program. I want Sunday program. If only some know what I have to go through to do the programs, huh? Yeah, these days I have to operate like a one-man army. Saying a special good night to all of you joining us via the various mediums. Folks, let me know if my audio is okay. If you are hearing me a little too low, let me know. I think I'm hearing myself properly. I'm hearing myself okay. I'm not sure if the same goes for all of you. If you all are having the same thing and you're hearing me okay, just let me know, yeah. And we say a special good night to 91.9, 91.5 Real FM. I believe they're on with us tonight, yeah. Yeah, I hope they're on. Also to We Noise Radio out there in Brooklyn. Good night to you, Wade. Yeah, the little issues on that side there, we sort that out, man. So we should be good there now. And Chris London has entered the chat. Good night to you, Chris London. Alistair Andrews, Janice Mitchell, let me see, Kathleen Knights, Moko Ben, and Moko Joseph, good night to you. Teresa Joseph, I see Andra Burke, Adrian Watts, Bernadette Filbert, Kathy Albert, Jefferson Hagley, Teresa Joseph, Raphael John, no, yeah, it's B.J. Junior Williams. I'm going to say Raphael Johnson. Gloria Francois, good night to you. And let me see who else is there. Christine. Yeah, Christine Alexander, good night to you. And Norma Felix. Art Willie, I am, good night. And I see Sherma Jeremiah. Where's Kayla? Yeah, where's my child? Anastasia Peterson, Anne-Marie Dick, Renee Zudi, Kathleen Knights, Rodney Barry, Dalma Scott, Glenda Francis John, good night to you. And I see Jenny Samuel, Joyce Lewis, Red Girl Pascal. And hey, let me say a good night to the Jones family. Yes, Zoe, good night to the Jones family. Huh? Andra Burke, Alban Harris, Claude Abraham, Vanessa Lalji, Gillian Williams. I see Cynthia Bartholomew, Shirley and James, Baby Daddy, Amanda Moses, good night to you. Let me fix my thing here. I have to stay there, man. Right, Amanda Moses and Cindy Thomas, Leroy, Matthew, Patsy Frank, Jerome Kenneth Lewis, Clive Raymond, Sissy Celestine, Stephanie John, and the home circle, I have to put it like that. David Lanclos, let me see, Sherma Alexander, Velma Pascal, Jackie Raymond, Michelle Alexander, Maud Martin, Gavin Thomas, Roslyn Jones, Deborah Laborde, Dolores Redhead, Anne-Marie Grant, Anastasia Buckmeyer, Carib Spice Fitness, Anna Lewis. I see Adrian Watts, good night to you and Mrs. Watts. You look spectacular on a Saturday night. Errol Bonaparte, well, everybody was looking extra special. Yeah, Errol Bonaparte, Kathleen Ledlow, Shajan John, Dennis Sandy, Listra. I see Deborah Flanders, Gillian Noel, Agnes Henry. Good night to each and every one of you. Remember as well, yeah, whether it's $5, $10, whatever, till we get to the goal, yeah, at least we need 10 chats so that we can get to Friday's program. Yeah, Ron Julian, good night to you, and John Stafford, Vaughan Wellington, Anna Andrew Stephen, Simon, Transparent Judge, good night to you. Ashma Charles, Sydney, Agatha Williams, good night to Olive Mitchell. Yeah, good night to all of you on the YouTube and on the Facebook. I see Jacqueline Wells, good night to you. And Glenda Smith, Glenda, I saw your bad behave. Rebecca Stafford, good night to you. Merrill George, Margaret Felix, Tora St. John, good night to you. And who else is there? Leslie James, Dena Abraham, Jamari Praying Auntie. Slem Matheson, hey, yeah. Slem Matheson, Valma Pascal, Teresa Buddy Frederick, Sherms Houston, Anthony To, Peters Histon, Augustine, Lucy King, good night. Landon Jane, Winnie Simon, Ansa Landy, I see Samantha Day. Who else is there? Who else is there? I'm sure I missed some folks at the top. Nurse Wendy Ann McGuire, good night to you. Cynthia Collins, Jermaine Lewis, Nurse Wendy, I know where you get address, lash address for them. Agnes Dowden, Cynthia B, Olive McEwen, Tegwa, Elizabeth Douglas, John Mark, the entire squad. Yeah, make sure I don't forget my ginger tea tonight, though. You know, folks, I'm not gonna stick on tonight because we got a lot to go through. You know, today I was having a conversation, just this afternoon. I was having a conversation with another mother out of Carriacou. And you know, that one was sort of depressing. Because you have a mother who has a special needs child. Yeah? She has a special needs child. That mother is living in a tent. And when the breeze started to blow and the weather started to act up last night, had to grab that special needs child, wrap them in a towel, and run out of the tent for rescue by a neighbor. Yet still you're hearing all is well and good in Carriacou and Petit Martinique. How they do so much work up there. And they go up there and you have people on loudspeaker, passing through Leicester on loudspeaker, about there's the Leicester Community Center. And the roof was destroyed during the hurricane and it was rebuilt. What roof? That was the... I went up there just about 2 days after the hurricane. The Leicester Community Center, the school, sorry, not the community, the school. The roof didn't go anywhere. That is where everybody went for rescue. That is where, anyway, Carriacou people could call and tell you for themselves. I don't have to talk on behalf of them, they could talk for themselves. But when you hear of situations, as the situation of one mother that I know, with her 4 kids, and she is staying in a tent, and when the rain falls or when the breeze go heavy, you know what they're going, they can't sleep. They can't sleep. And yet still, they can't hear anything about material. They have people coming to them, these different people, and asking them about what they need, what they need, what they need. Yeah? Different people. Well, you have to find a different spot for that mic. Different people, and it's because I'm upset too. Different people coming to them, asking them constantly about what they need. And while these mothers who had homes, these are not people that was living with mommy or living with daddy or living elsewhere. And so these are people that were living in homes prior to burial. Their homes were destroyed. And they are not being given priority. And people without children who never had homes are being given priority because they want to take that one out from the mother house because they feel that is a vote. And then the people who need, like this mother of a special needs child in Carriacou, as a child who is special needs, I won't go into too much details, but they know who I'm talking about. and you have that special needs mother living in a tent. Meanwhile, down to Vincentians, and we love our Vincentian brothers and sisters, but down to Vincentians getting house in Carriacou. But born Carriacouians, or as we go say, kayaks, cannot get a home. A mother. When you hear the rain start to fall, and so many of us, we start to think about our brothers and sisters in Carriacou. And now I have to add another one to that list. What that mother went through. That the breeze start to blow and the rain start to fall. And they realize the tent like he'd want to give up because he start to take the breeze. And they have to grab their child in that weather in the night and run for safety by somebody else. Yet still, everything all well and nice in Carriacou, isn't it? Everything going nice in Carriacou. Yeah. Folks, while we get close to the 1-year anniversary of Beryl, tonight marks the 3-year anniversary of the NDC in office. And at any point in time, you all can feel free between now and 9 to call and give your scorecard in relation to the National Democratic Congress and how you think they have performed. Yeah, you can call. When I started to play clips just now, we ain't got time to take calls, so you have to call now. And just a programming note, our guest on tomorrow's Talking Tuesdays will be Mrs. Nolene Thompson. Yes, she's our guest tomorrow night. A New York support group, one of you call and tell us how the thing was over the weekend and so, because I see people trying to give an impression. Yeah. They're trying to give an impression of how we event was. Yeah? So come on, one of you give me a call and just, yeah. We showed the pictures during yesterday, but seeing that it's Monday, let me use the opportunity here now to remind you all of what the activity. Okay, and somebody is calling there. Let me take that call. Hello, good night. Hello, good night.
Hi, good night.
Yes, you're live. Go right ahead.
I'll give my count on the performance for the 3 not much I'll say, just I'll say the truth. 1 to 10, I give them half. Half and 1.
Half and
good
1.
Night.
Man, dread, but you give them half and 1. Indeed. All right, folks, let me just show you some from the activity over the weekend, and because some people trying to give the impression, yeah. So let me just have the call. Hello, good night.
Good night, Sheldon.
Good night. How are you doing, my dear?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm quite fine.
Actually, I'm sleepy. I'm tired from the weekend.
Well, I could imagine. Multiple.
Because we were going from since Friday. I'm at work today, and oh my Lord, I keep the eyes about to shut, and I have to keep drinking water and stuff to keep me up.
And I realized I didn't even see a picture of my good friend Kathy.
She was, yeah.
Because she was so busy, yeah.
Yeah, it was a busy time. Even though they said but you know what? We shouldn't be busy, quite frankly, because if we didn't have nobody there, maybe we was just sitting chilling, And Sheldon, something, I did this thing intentionally. I always sit there and I do stuff, and when I look, it fly around like a kite in the sky. Mm-hmm. So I intentionally made a video and I did not put the crowd. Mm-hmm. Before I turn around twice, the video don't share. Somebody take my whole video, Sheldon, my whole video, and share it and put up all the look what they say in this crowd. You know something? I blocked that person.
Well,
because that's not a man. That's not a man. That's a man. He could to be getting on. So, and I don't want no animals or no whatever it is under my page there. That's not persons. Okay?
I agree with you, my dear.
But all in all, Sheldon, we had fun. It was nice. Everybody, it was good. It was a nice vibes.
Yes, indeed. And that's the
It
thing,
was good.
they like you see, when people are inadequate, they like to always be measuring, yeah? So we don't have to measure. We are not inadequate, so we don't have to be measuring. So they want to say about, oh, we'll show what we had, we'll show our people were there at the activity, So while you're speaking, I'm
I,
actually flipping through the photos, huh?
I, I'll tell you something. The amount of people on the day of the event that call in to get tickets. And that's one of the reasons why I was so busy and so tired, because Saturday and Friday, Sheldon, I was just going for the entire day, just dropping off tickets. So because some people waited the last moment, and Saturday, even before the event, and I'm coming from Queens to drop it to Brooklyn. I had to, they call, we still have tickets? Yes. So it was more than we even imagine we was going to have. So why people don't find something constructive to do with their time when they're talking, big grown people talking a bunch of nonsense. Sometimes I need us so fun. Of course, I'm nauseated with those stupidness.
But all in all, a wonderful activity. I last night I said it, and I'll say it again. The decor, the organization was well done. Yeah,
It was
everything
nice. It was nice.
well
Oh
done.
my gosh,
And I
yes.
realized
Yes. It was so nice.
people came out in their numbers. Yeah, I realized
Even
people
last
came
night
out
at the meet and greet.
and they came out
Even at the meet
dressed.
and greet. Yes, last night was nice too. Yeah. But yeah, it was good. And you know what? It's an annual something. So every year you build, and it's only the second one, Sheldon. So don't worry. We're getting bigger and bigger and better.
All right, I sent an invoice in for the ads just now, so.
Oh, okay.
Yes, indeed. All right, this. Well, you have a wonderful one.
So
I'll go ahead and get into some serious thing in a little while. You'll have the opportunity to call back a little later on.
I'm trying to close up my chat here right now. So by 8:45, I'll be all finished and ready to give you my full attention.
All right, my dear. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome. Take
All
care.
right. Indeed, that's one of the organizers. Yes, indeed. And folks, let me just go over the promos from the different activities. Okay, I think we have a caller on the line. Hello, good night.
Good night, Sheldon. Good night.
Hey, how you do?
I'm good. I'm good.
Nice, you go right ahead.
Okay, this is Saul Dakota. I'm the acting public relations officer for the New York chapter
Wonderful.
NNP, and I would like to take the opportunity to extend a hearty thank you to all the supporters and well wishers of the new National Party diaspora membership in the United States. They came from all over. They came from New Jersey, Queens, Brooklyn, Staten Island, and the surrounding boroughs to support us in full numbers. We had a hall which we really catered for some 200 persons. We had at present there was some 260 plus, and if you would have listened to the political leader, Honorable Emily Pierre, who graced us with her presence together with the members of the new National Party, with Dr. Mitchell as the chairman and other ministers and caretakers. We must say thank you to them also for coming up, making the journey up to the United States. We know that they are very busy in this critical time as our country going through a stage where we never expected to be. As some say, that's not what we voted for. But I want to say thank you, nevertheless, for coming out. She said that we will have to start looking into getting somewhere else bigger, because they were there last year and we catered for some 180, they're about a 200, and this year we got a place which holds 250. We were filled to capacity. We had persons even on the outside and so on, and everybody was well taken care of. The food was on point. The music was just wonderful. The whole ambience, the decor, the the greeting, the love was so phenomenal that I want to say thank you from the bottom of our heart to the members, and we do look forward in them coming back again next year when we host the event. Probably we might have to have it twice a year because based on the feedback that we are getting, persons are all asking when is the next event. They're asking for the next event. Yesterday we had a meet and greet in East New York area, and it was filled. We had it in a big backyard. Well, not too big, but we were able to accommodate some 120 plus or 130 persons there, and they all will all get up. They're all ready, and I can feel the vibes from them that they are ready. They are on board, and they want things to start happening right now. They express a lot of anger in the way the recovery is going, especially in on the islands of Carriacou and Petit Martinique. And as someone who live on Petit Martinique, I have a question. Who are native of Petit Martinique, I have a question, a serious question, and I hope that members from persons from Carriacou and Petit Martinique are listening very carefully to what the question I have to ask. I want to know where is the chairman for the Build Back Better committee from Petit Martinique. I want to know if she went to a physical planning course overseas, because it's a year more or less since burial passed, and persons are still without roofs on their house and homes. There are still persons living in tent and in deplorable conditions that should not be for any human being to be in at this time, knowing that they got CREFT payout. I want to know where is the chairman and who are the members. The community have questions, and they want these questions to be answered. They want to know where, at what stage, when they would really meet them to find out what are the needs.
Mm-hmm. Because remember, come the end of July, it is the end of the Build Back Better program, as per the words of Senator the Honorable Gloria Thomas, that as the end of July, that's the end of it. Any house that bill, you have to pay for it. Anything else, you have to pay for it.
Yes, that's what we've been hearing, and I understand over the weekend that the minister would have accommodated some 2 boats out of Grenada with persons who come to Carriacou. I'm asking the question, what was the main reason, and where is this funding? I mean, if you could waste funding for those trivial stuff, to me, what happened to the remaining funds and
that's not
persons who didn't get?
That's not the same man that used to say you need 25 cents remaining in your account.
Yes, well, after 3 years, I guess he's saying that I heard that he said that he made it. So we want to know how much is in that account today, and how much persons he has assisted so far personally from his personal savings, because we would realize that after burial or after Ivan, Dr. Mitchell would have come to the nation and his ministers would have taken a reduction, but what we noticed that they didn't do anything like that during burial, and the whole of Grenada wasn't affected. At least they could have taken, if it's a 3/4 or half of the salary, and assist a family. That would have gone quite a long way in assisting at least a family or 2 on the island of Petit Martinique. We are suffering there.
What's the people looking to take an increase again? You're talking about them. Them looking to take an increase again if they get a chance.
I want to advise the people there to take note. Please do not forget. We are very quick. We are people who is very quick to forget. Do not forget where we were. We didn't call it on ourselves. It's nature, but government has a responsibility to provide for its people, and they have neglected the role and responsibility that they were sworn to when they took the oath of office, to do it without fear and favor or ill will. So in this case, I know that tonight you're also giving your grade. Me being a former teacher, I do not like to mark too hard sometimes, but I like to be realistic. If you work for something, you get it. And I think definitely based on all aspects, health, education, social development, the people's well-being, the people's business, the management of the country, the fiscal policies, and so on, and spending, I give them a F grade. So they know what to do. From here onwards, they need to start packing a bag and moving out, because we do not need a we don't want to live in a failed state.
Yeah.
When you leave overseas,
F for fail and
and
F for fake.
they are fail and they are fake.
Yes, indeed. All right, my brother. And just now there'll be another F. Finished.
Yes, I want to remind the supports the members of New York, that's who supports the New York chapter, that we have events coming up. Please stay tuned to Talking Points, where all our advertisements are being done
For free.
and all other mediums where
Let's
it's
just
been
make sure they
broadcast.
know. For free.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
it's
They will know.
Masako.
Not on a need to know basis. They will know.
All right, my brother. You thanks so
All
very
right.
much.
Take care. Have a good night. Okay. Bye-bye.
Yes, indeed, folks. And yeah, let me just get through the ads here. Yeah, because as we spoke about Carriacou and Petit Martinique, I'll come back to the phone lines in a short while. I realize it is ringing. We have the breakfast sale that's coming up, not this Saturday. Is it this Saturday? Yes. This Saturday at the Carriacou and Petit Martinique branch office, they're having their breakfast sale. And that's starting from 7 a.m. So look on out for that one. Always a wonderful one out there. So look on out for that one. And oh boy, I missed that call. I was trying to take it. Call back, caller. Hey, and let me say a special good night to J City. Yeah, J City out there in Calgary, Canada. Yeah, Alberta. Nice. Yes, J City, good night to you. And of course, keep listening to Talking Points. Let me go back to the phone lines here. And hold on, caller. Hold on. Let me just unmute that. Nice, right. Right ahead. Hello, good night.
Sheldon, good evening. And good evening to all your viewers and listeners.
With friends like you.
I want to join my voice with our sister Wendy and the PRO in saying this was an event that was properly planned, excellently executed, and it was just a wonderful time that we had together in New York. I came back this afternoon, and I want to say kudos to the team, you know, Kathy especially. Kathy was walking on her head. You know, that girl is she's such a woman of sacrifice, and she goes all out to make sure that things are in place and they are properly done. And, you know, she was just making sure that everybody had a good time.
Doc,
so you said you didn't see any photos with her. I sent you one.
Let me tell you something. I say I didn't see any photos of her because every time I glimpsed Kathy, I could tell you what she was wearing. But every time I glimpsed Kathy, she was passing behind somebody back heading to get something or heading back with something. And in one or two of the videos, in one or two of the videos, I realized I see her passing around, but I didn't see anywhere she was able to stop and take a picture of anybody.
I know. But she did stop. I just sent you one.
Okay,
so she did stop, and I managed to get a photo of her. I also heard you talking about the crowd. I took a photo of part of the crowd, which I shared with you as well on your personal WhatsApp.
Yes, so I'll check for it.
And Sheldon, I was there. So what I'm telling you is eyewitness account. That place was way too small. And I am not the only person saying that. When Dr. Mitchell made his remarks, he even said that the place was too small. Sheldon, people at the back were standing. There were people outside, you know? And so it just goes to show you the kind of interest that people have, not just in Grenada, but in the new National Party, you know? And we had just a wonderful time. The ambience was good. The energy was it was upbeat. People were just happy to be there, you know? And when I see my political leader dancing and things, I say, what?
I say already when he coming down, make sure he bring one of them suit they sew for me, you know. I had to send up my size. I just had to send my size. Okay, you know, I kind of tall and
yes,
so I'll send my size. I ain't sure I go
Of
fit,
course.
it ain't go fit me as good as it fit him, but I go look nice.
I know, but you know, Sheldon, I can't even find the words to express the kind of atmosphere that this event attracted. You know, the decor was great. I don't want to repeat what other people said, but all in all, everyone who have said what they have said, nobody has exaggerated. It was just that. And I am just looking forward to having this thing grow more and more. You know, every year it gets bigger and bigger. And to the chairman up there, Aisha, Oliver, and Kathy and Wendy and the rest of the team, Mrs. Frame, all of them there, you know. I just want to tell them congratulations for an event that was well put together and well executed. And we just had a great time up there.
All right. Doc, thank you so very much. Me and you have to have a conversation. I'll give you a call in the morning.
Of course. Pleasure is mine. Pleasure is mine. Take care. Bye-bye. Good night.
Thank you. Yes, indeed. So that was another person who was at the activity yesterday. All right, and let me see. I think there's another call coming in. Hello, good night. Oh, sorry. Yeah, one moment, please. I tried to mute it for the...
This is the guy from the Nutmeg State.
Nutmeg State. How you doing?
Good. Now since you're in the grading mode and we are grading right now, for Saturday I wouldn't give it an A. I would give it about a B plus because of what everybody said. The space.
Yeah.
And I think that might be the last time I'm calling this radio because I went and talked to Sister Emily Pierre, our political leader. She said, I know that voice. I said, wait a minute, you don't even know me. Oh yes, I know that voice. And I said, so I am from Connecticut, the Nutmeg State. So apparently, what is so distinct about my voice that I cannot lose? So it was good. She took some photograph. I took photographs with Dr. Mitchell. She took pictures with my wife and everybody. So the bottom line of everything was space. Everybody said everything, ambience. The food, next time tell them when they're sharing food, don't only one meat. I wanted a piece of chicken and I wanted tuna. They say only one meat.
Okay,
next time.
Okay. Next thing, mix it. Yeah, man.
Mix it. Yeah, but everything, a grade a B plus, not an A yet, because that's number 2. But we had space for, if we had the space, it was going to be an A minus. If we had the room where everybody could spread their wings, I would say it was an A minus. But right now it's a B plus, and we had the numbers. So I'm going to turn my volume back down and start listening now. Thank you, sir.
All right, Nutmeg State.
All right.
That's our good friend at the Nutmeg State. Yes, indeed. So, folks, let me take a hold on the calls right about now. And I want to just go over the activities for this week and then get into our main discussion for tonight. Yeah? And first of all, I mentioned the Carriacou and Petit Martinique lunch and breakfast that is taking place. We also have the St. George Northwest constituency branch. They've got their breakfast and barbecue luncheon that's taking place this Saturday at the Bourgeois playing field from 7 a.m. Yeah, just $20 each. So that's taking place this Saturday. That's the 28th, right? At 7 a.m. And that is taking place at the Bourgeois playing field at the St. George Northwest constituency branch. You all know my little friend here, Kelani. All right, yeah, you know what you have to do. All right, nice. And folks, let me just get this other one on.
For information, contact WeNoiseTV at 929-445-4463, or you can email us at wenoisetv@gmail.com. WeNoiseTV, the leading streaming provider. Anytime, anywhere, any screen. Access to your favorite HD contents with prices as low as ever. Choose from monthly, quarterly, or yearly payments. This worldwide service is flexible for you to keep up with all your favorite programs, shows, movies, and local programming from home no matter where you travel to. Worldwide TV channels right at your fingertips wherever you are. Latest in live sports, binge watch all your favorite TV shows, movies on demand, videos on demand. You can pause, rewind, fast forward anytime. Never miss 1 minute in entertainment important to you. No contracts, no added prices for sports or premium packages. We certainly don't have to pull tricks like cable and satellite companies. Our product speaks for itself and beyond. We Noise TV. We have everything like Netflix, Disney, Amazon. Watch your favorite movies, TV shows, and series with our services. With our service, you will get rid of all other subscriptions. For more information, contact We Noise TV at 929-445-4463, or you can email us at wenoisetv@gmail.com. For more information, contact...
So yes, indeed, folks, that is a We Noise. Yes, they bring, not the noise, not noise that does make, not that does make sure everything sounding good and proper and that sort of thing. So folks, yesterday, we're getting into the thing now, so we hold on the phone calls and we will come back. We will come back into them thing and them day. And oh my, and you know, sometimes I miss messages, and I'm just seeing a message from another young lady. This is a third young lady, who is in Carriacou, and they've sent a video of where they're saying, and you all would not like to see the state of where, Jesus, it's water all over the floor. It's, oh my God. I don't know how somebody is able to stay in there. That is... Human beings are not supposed to live in situations like that. Yeah? A cave is better than that. My goodness. It's to show you all the state of... I'll do it tomorrow night because of the machine I have it on. I can't transfer it right now. But this is a mother of... let me see again. Hope all is well from Carriacou. 3 kids. Don't have a roof over their head, and it's very hard because this is a single mother with 3 kids, and they don't know what to do anymore. So the place where they're staying right now, they're showing me when rain is falling, what is taking place in there. And it reminds me of that family up there in St. Andrew. Yeah, it reminds me of them. Up in Simon, it reminds me of them, because what you're seeing there is just water dripping all different directions. Not a shred of help from the government. Not a shred of help from the government. One person even told me, they said, listen, I know the reason I'm not getting help is because I've been an open supporter of the new National Party. So they come, they ask me questions, and then when it comes time to help me, they're helping everybody else who is supporter of them, who supporters of themselves, but they're just refusing to assist me. So the situation with many people, and I'm just speaking here of the mothers. We haven't even gotten into the elderly and what the elderly up there are going through. We're just speaking here about some of those young mothers. So I'm telling you about one mother that with 4 children, living in a tent. I'm telling you now of another one with 3, who is living basically in a place that if it have a roof, well, I don't know what purpose the roof was really the purpose of the roof, because the whole floor is soaking wet, it's flooded, and you're seeing water dripping all over there. I have to put things all over there. With 3 children inside their single mother. And then another mother who has a special needs child is living in a tent and is not being given priority. That's the kind of people that you give priority to. They have a special needs child. The same way they could build a house for people that never had before, they could do one for her. The same way they could build place and give to people who are not even kayaks. Who are not, I mean, I invest with the people to get a place, but look out for the people of Carriacou and Petit Martinique. My goodness. Anyway, folks, so into the main one for today, and I was looking yesterday, as I'm pretty sure most of you were looking, at the Bob report. And good night to you, Dr. Kellon Bob. Those of you that were looking at the Bob report and the pronouncements that were made by former Senator Jonathan Lacret in relation to various things. And you know, several things jumped out at me yesterday. We discussed one or two. And you know, let's start with this particular one. Because let me see, let me start with this one tonight. Let's start with this one. And then we're going to move to another one. Because at a press conference on the 1st of August 2024, the 1st of August 2024, when the Prime Minister was announcing the firing of Mr. Jonathan Lacret, he was asked a specific question, because when folks heard that Mr. Lacret had been fired, we also heard that he was escorted out of the building by police officers. This was the response of the Prime Minister when he was asked that question at the press conference that he was announcing the firing of Mr. Jonathan Lacret. Let's hear the Prime Minister.
Morning to the Honorable Prime Minister and the other members of the head table and the listening public. There are reports that Mr. Lacret was escorted out of the complex by security forces. Can you confirm and explain, if so, can you explain the need or the rationale behind that move?
Well, I have no knowledge of that, so I can't confirm or deny, and I'd be surprised that can.
And folks, again, I want you to pay particular attention to the Prime Minister's response.
Can you confirm and explain, if so, can you explain the need or the rationale behind that move?
Well, I have no knowledge of that, so I can't confirm or deny, and I'd be surprised that can even take place. As I indicated earlier, let me repeat. I would have communicated to Minister Lacret my decision in the presence of cabinet colleagues in the cabinet room. Minister Lacret would have obviously then excused himself from the cabinet room. I remained in the cabinet room, so to my colleagues, so I'm not in a position to speak to anything that would have happened outside of that. I subsequently communicated with Minister Lacret by messages subsequently. He did not raise with me any of those issues, and well, I can't presume, but I would have thought that if something like that happened, that it would have been raised. So I'm not aware of that.
Good morning to the Honorable Prime Minister and the other members of the head table and the listening public. There are reports that Mr. Lacret was escorted out of the complex by security forces. Can you confirm and explain, if so, can you explain the need or the rationale behind that move?
Well, I have no knowledge of that, so I can't confirm or deny, and I'd be surprised that can even take place. As I indicated earlier, let me repeat. I would have communicated to Minister Lacret my decision in the presence of cabinet colleagues in the cabinet room. Minister Lacret would have obviously then excused himself from the cabinet room. I remained in the cabinet room, so to my colleagues, so I'm not in a position to speak to anything that would have happened outside of that. I subsequently communicated with Minister Lacret by messages subsequently. He did not raise with me any of those issues, and well, I can't presume, but I would have thought that if something like that happened, that it would have been raised. So I'm not aware of that.
And those were the words of the Prime Minister when he was asked about that situation. Yesterday, we heard Mr. Jonathan Lacret speaking about that situation, and let's hear Mr. Lacret now. Let's hear Mr. Lacret, and then we'll make a judgment of who telling the truth and who lying, eh? Yeah, so let's hear Mr. Lacret now on this issue.
In that press conference, when the Prime Minister announced your dismissal, he articulated that he lost confidence in you. But you're saying now that the Prime Minister did not give you a specific set of justifications as to why he lost confidence in you. But I'm sure there were conversations leading up to that moment, perhaps that you can speak to.
Not that I remember at all. In fact, I walked into the cabinet on the 31st of July, 2024, and if my memory serves me correctly, cabinet started at 10 o'clock that morning, and the Prime Minister, as per usual, walked out of his office and greeted the cabinet of ministers, and we reciprocated with a good morning and sat. And he informed that the cabinet meeting this morning is about Minister Lacret, and that as of 8 o'clock the very said morning, he instructed the Governor General to revoke both my senatorial and ministerial appointments, and that I may now leave the cabinet. Before he began his discourse, he did mention that it was with a heavy heart that he had to make that announcement this morning before my cabinet colleagues and also members of the National Executive Council of the party that were present online, virtually.
And folks, I want you to pay a particular attention to the statement just made. There were members of the NDC executive that were tuned into a cabinet meeting of Grenada.
Before my cabinet colleagues and also members of the National Executive Council of the party that were present online, virtually. Yes, I picked up my laptop. I placed it inside my bag while I was thanking him for the opportunity to serve in the cabinet of Grenada and also in the Parliament of Grenada. And I also thanked my former colleagues for the opportunity to be able to serve with them, that it was a wonderful 2-year journey that I will not trade for anything, serving at the policy level of the nation. And I wished the administration as well as the political organization well, and I exited the cabinet with a smile on my face.
Okay. Were you escorted by security forces at the ministerial cabinet, the size of the ministerial
security officers?
Security officers. Security, I said security places.
Security, you're making sound like a drug raid, you know. Security officers. Yes, when I exited the cabinet, in fact, before I exited the cabinet and my hand touched the doorknob of the cabinet, I remember the Honorable Prime Minister saying, Mr. Lacret, I recognize that there is some confusion on your face as to why I did.
As I was leaving.
That was as I was leaving. I recognize that there is some confusion on your face as to why I did what I did this morning. If you would like an explanation, we can set an appointment with my administrative assistant, executive secretary, and that's Ms. Leslie, and we can meet after the cabinet today if you are available. I said to him, thank you very much, Prime Minister, for the accommodation. And when I exited the cabinet, I recognized that 2 officers were sitting outside of the cabinet. Actually, they were sitting on the couch. I greeted them, and while I walked out of the second door and headed towards the elevator, I recognized that the elevator went down to the first floor, and I decided I was not going to wait. So while standing in front of the elevator, they came on either side of me, one on the left, one on the right, and I motioned to them to ask them if everything is okay. And they said, oh, yes, Minister, all is well. We were just instructed to escort you. Well, yes, we were just instructed to escort you down to your office. And I said, okay, no problem. And they escorted me down to the 3rd floor. I went into my office. I was not allowed to touch anything that was government owned. I was only allowed to take that which belonged to me, which I did. I was asked to hand over the government phone immediately, and I motioned to the National Security Advisor that I have some contacts on the phone that I would like to transfer. If I'm exiting office, I would like to keep these contacts because they're important. He gave me the opportunity to do so, and took back the phone. I exited, and they escorted me down to the 1st floor. And Officer Cohen took me to my vehicle and ensured that I left the compound driving off. I did message the Prime Minister when I got into my vehicle after I drove off to request a time that is best suited for him so that we can have the meeting the afternoon once he's available, because I was expressing my availability at the time. But between the time, because cabinet started at 10, so between 10:15 and around 2:30, I recognized that the Prime Minister's office had put out a release that they were going to have a press conference on Thursday, the 1st of July, the day after the firing. And part of the dialogue of that press conference was to inform the nation as to why I had to exit the cabinet of Grenada. And I felt that if you're going to explain to the nation why and not give me an explanation, it's sort of like putting the cart before the horse. So Prime Minister called just around the 3:30 Minister for time frame, because we had set up a time, and he messaged he messaged me via WhatsApp. And I said to him, Prime Minister, I recognize that there is a press conference that is due for tomorrow. And part of the press conference is to speak about or to inform the nation as it relates to why I had to exit the cabinet of Grenada, or you had to fire me. And I said to him, I'd rather wait for the conclusion of the press conference. Yes, I believe it was my right to do so at that particular point in time. And then he said to me, no, he really wants to be able to speak before the press conference. And I said, respectfully, Prime Minister, I'd rather wait for the conclusion of the press conference, because I would like to hear why it is you did what you did.
Yes, indeed, folks. So you heard from Mr. Lacret that indeed the story that we all heard of the events of that day, that it was correct. That he was indeed escorted. Said one of the officers was superintendent. I think he's still superintendent now, DCP, whatever he is. Vanny Cohen, I think he's ACP now. Vanny Cohen was one of the people that escorted him down. So the people do like the man is a prisoner, criminal now. 2 officers go to one to each side, bring him down to the office. They follow him down to the office, and they didn't allow him to touch anything. They take phone from him. They allow him to transfer information, but take phone from him. And all he was able to take is his personal stuff and leave. Yeah? Such an undignified way to treat an individual. Although, as he said, he left with his dignity. But they treated him in an undignified way. And for the Prime Minister, on the 1st of August 2024, as I played for you a short while ago, for the Prime Minister to try to give us the impression that he did not know that was taking place is a lie. You know it, I know it, he knows it. It is a lie. The Prime Minister is the only one that could have ordered what took place with Mr. Jonathan Lacret from the time he exited that cabinet door. The only person could have authorized that was the Prime Minister. No other minister could have told these police officers, Mr. Lacret is being fired this morning, or you come up there and make sure he don't. No other minister could have done that. The Minister of National Security is the Prime Minister. Yeah? And we know that the Prime Minister, knew what he had done that morning. The Prime Minister knew very well what he had done that morning. He knew that he went to the Governor General. How did Mr. Vanny Cohen know? And the other officer, and I don't want to assume who the other officer is, but we do know that the advisor, Mr. William Thompson, the security advisor, was also involved in this, because he did mention the security advisor in relation to the phone and different things, that the security advisor is one of the people he speaks to. So I'm not sure if the 2 officers that went were the security advisor and Mr. Vanny Cohen, or Mr. Vanny Cohen and another person, along with the security advisor. But for the Prime Minister to give the impression that that is not so, he don't know anything about that, and so is a lie. Because the only person, so you're telling me the Governor General that do that? Who else knew that he was being fired? And it says a lot, you know. It says a lot about all of them that sit in that cabinet. That not one of them get up and try to defend their friend. Their friend. Not one of them got up and say, Mr. Prime Minister, you know what you're doing is wrong. You're handling this in the wrong way. Can we just take a break now for 5 minutes, go to your office and have a conversation? Yes, we know it's too late to draw back. But at least let's go to your office for a few minutes, because if you know the cabinet office is actually attached to the Prime Minister's office. The Prime Minister just walks out from his office, the Prime Minister's office, into the cabinet office. So before Mr. Lacret came before the others and was broadsided, what was stopping Deacon Mitchell between let's say, 8 o'clock when he went to the Governor General and 10 o'clock when that meeting took place? What was stopping him from calling Mr. Lacret in and, as a decent human being, saying to him, hey, I have this problem with you, I am revoking your appointment, and so, etc., etc., etc. That is what a human being does. That's what a human being does. But in this instance, that is the sort of thing that you had taking place. That was the treatment of what. Let me show you the person they treat like that. Let me remind them of the person that they treat like that. Yeah, if they treat this person like that, imagine how they would treat me or you.
And the people that lost loved ones, and the vivid memory that is still in the minds of the Grenadian people. Our nation needs healing. We go back to the Great Recession in 2008, and how many people lost their jobs and was living in poverty. The memory is still vivid in the minds of the Grenadian, Carriacouian, and Petit Martinican people. Spirit of the living God, Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, we lift our hands. Come on, let's address. We lift our hands, and Father, we say, heal our land. We repent and we ask for forgiveness in the mighty name of Jesus for everything that we have given access to our shores.
Imagine, this is the individual that they treated in that way. They did not even have the common courtesy to say to him, hey, don't come in. Hey, I have an issue with you. Hey, we'd like to work something out. Yeah? They didn't even have the decency to treat that individual in a decent manner. That is the individual. This is him. This is him.
Satanic agent, every satanic spirit, every consortium of demons that we have given access to our shores.
Didn't realize the consortium of demons was right around your holding hands.
Through marine spirits, through the
like when Tevin come down on the boat, marine spirits. Yes, we hear you.
Importation of juju, through the importation of witchcraft demons and necromancy spirit, we rise as an army of warriors. Through
just that is the person that they treated in that manner. That is the individual. That is one of them. Well, was one of them. That was a cabinet colleague. That was a national executive colleague. That was a parliamentary colleague. And that is the way they treated them. Police officers to come and walk behind you, walk of shame. Well, if you're ashamed, but trying to make you have a walk of shame. Until Vanny Cohen had to go with him to his car to make sure he leave the building. Imagine that. You walk into the building believing you're a minister, and then you have police escorting you to your car. That is how they treat the person that was just praying there for them. That is how they treat that individual. And then, Mr. Lacret made some other statements yesterday. You know, it was very interesting to hear some of the other statements that he made, because it speaks a lot to the character of the individuals who he was just praying for there.
You must have known that coming to the nation and using these two unmeasurable terms, trust and confidence, was going to affect my employability thereafter, that it was going to affect my family thereafter, that it was going to affect practically everything that I've built over the years as somebody who worked in the public service, worked in the private sector, and also led a ministry, spiritual ministry, for the greater part of 9 years, that the person's character, integrity, values will be called into question. And in retrospect, sometimes you sit down and you look back and you wonder, was the objective political calculus? Was it internal party maneuvering? What was it? Because a minister was relieved of his duties way before I was. He was afforded the opportunity of a sit-down, of a dialogue, a conversation, the Prime Minister, along with the Minister, came to the media and they spoke about his exit from cabinet and as to why he's exiting cabinet at this particular point in time, which is to further his studies. Why wasn't I afforded that opportunity, even if you felt that you came into information that one of your cabinet ministers is divulging data from the cabinet of Grenada or from government, and that the quality of that data has the ability to compromise the governance and leadership structure of the organization? Where is the conversation? Where was the dialogue to say, Jonathan, Lucky, whatever you want to say, this is the information I've come into. I'm giving you an opportunity to defend or not to defend the information. And I'll close by saying this. Even in a court of law, the defendant, based on the advice of his lawyer, is given an opportunity to speak in his own defense. And I'm saying to myself, it came across as an execution-style exit at the particular point in time, because I felt, as somebody who is astute and intelligent, understand the terrain of law, etc., that you had 101 ways, Dr. Bob, 101 ways Sir could have dealt with that particular situation. Revoked my ministerial appointment and left me as a senator, and you could have placed me anywhere in the public sector to continue my service to the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique with the senatorial title and still working in the Senate of Grenada. You could have placed me on a board or two so that I do not lose the financial package that I was receiving at the time. You know that I have a mortgage. You know that I have vehicular payments at the end of the month and other financial facilities with financial organizations. And I sat for the past 11 months trying to decipher in my mind, because my wife was 5.5, 6 months pregnant at the time of my firing, and she had to be hospitalized because her pressure went to the roof. And I almost lost both of them. But the spiritual attack did not kill us. It did not wipe us out. We maintained our faith in God and our resilience as we stood upon His word, trying to understand what strange thing has come upon us. I am still trying to decipher in my mind up to today. It's water under the bridge. And just to be clear, listen to me, I love those guys, and I made that quite clear when I was exiting the cabinet in July of 2024, because it was indeed a pleasure to serve with all of them. And there's no remorse, there's no bitterness, there's no hatred. This is just me reliving and retelling the story.
Imagine after all of that, but not one of them stood up in his defense. All man was studying the kakada. None of them have morality. All man studying that if they stand up, they might get fired too. They might have to go too. Not one of all you stand up in defense of the man and say, well, Prime Minister, yes, you have the wherewithal, you can do that, but the manner in which you've done this is wrong. You man exit the cabinet room. Like if you commit a crime, you have police escorting the man. Like if, and you know, again, I want to go back to something though that was said a little earlier, because I don't want to leave that out. Let me see if I can find it here.
That I may now leave the cabinet virtually. Yes,
Right, so this part where he's speaking about members of the NDC being part of the cabinet meeting. Listen, I've been in close contact with people involved in politics in many countries in the region. I've been to the Parliament of Trinidad. I've been to the UK Parliament on multiple occasions. I have interacted with parliamentarians from everywhere, from Turks and Caicos, Bermuda, Bahamas, Jamaica. I've been to Jamaica several times, interacted with parliamentarians there. I've been interacting with parliamentarians in St. Lucia, St. Vincent, St. Kitts, you name it. I have never heard a situation where the political organization is part of a cabinet meeting. Cabinet in its own formation and rules. You cannot simply have any and anybody in cabinet. For instance, if, for instance, a statutory body has to make a presentation, let's say NOASA has to go to cabinet to make a presentation, they sit outside and they wait until that point in time when they are to make a presentation to the cabinet of Grenada. They are called in by the CAPSEC at a point in time, and they come inside, they make their presentation. When they have completed their presentation, they leave. Sometimes they don't even stay for the deliberations in relation to their presentation. They make their presentation, then they leave. And there is a difference between the government structure and the political structure. There is no circumstance, none whatsoever, zero, zilch, zot, any way you want to put it, any language you could put it in. There is none that a political party is supposed to be zoomed in to a cabinet meeting at any stage of a cabinet meeting. And Lacret's statement can be confirmed because you see different executive members at the NDC saying certain things online that lets you understand fully that what he was saying about these people from the executive being online at the cabinet meeting is truthful. And what you're picking up from these different members of the NDC executive who are saying these things online as well, what you're picking up from them is that that was not one-off, that is a regular thing, that when they're having the cabinet meeting, that members of the NDC executive operate as though they are cabinet members. And that is wrong. The NDC has their, well, they're supposed to have, but we know they're dysfunctional bad, but they're supposed to have an executive. And if they would like to have their executive meetings, they can do that outside of the governance structure. They can't do that in the government structure. So they can have a particular day in a particular place where they gather and they have their executive meeting. When it comes to the cabinet, the only way information is supposed to be coming out of the cabinet is in the way the New National Party did it on a weekly basis. You had what was called, and discontinued by the NDC, the post-cabinet press briefing. That is where you don't go and say, well, Minister this did say that on that issue, and Minister that say that on that issue, and so on, but you go and you say, this is the decision we have taken. Even if you, the individual, didn't agree with it, you know, but you're the spokesperson on the cabinet, and cabinet is collective responsibility. So you go out and you say, yes, this is the decision of the government of Grenada. Cabinet has taken a decision, A, B, C, D, whatever it is. You explain, you answer questions in relation to it as far as you can answer questions in relation to it. But you don't have executive members from your political party signed into a cabinet meeting. What kind of mawet is that? According to some friends of mine, that is total magie. Real magie. There is no situation, any governing party, any government should be having cabinet meetings with political persons, people who are just political persons, people who are not within the governing structure of the country. They are political. If you want to bring them in the cabinet, swear them in and bring them into the cabinet. Fire the senators you have, put them as senators and bring them into the cabinet. Because if the party is having the executive meeting, nearly everybody in cabinet, the only two people who may not, might not, and in some instances they are, within the cabinet, that could possibly end up not being part of the executive at the NDC are the Attorney General. If they decide to go the direction of taking our Attorney General, what we have now is not Attorney General, that's a joke. But if you get an Attorney General who is a non-political person, that has been done before. You have had Attorney Generals under the NNP that were not part of the NNP, they were not card-carrying members. I never even see them at a rally I never see them at a meeting, nothing, but they were the Attorney General of Grenada. And that individual would go to cabinet, because they're the legal advisor to government, they would go to cabinet every time there's a cabinet meeting. But that person is not a political person. Or the cabinet secretary, who is not supposed to be a political person, but a career civil servant. But we realize what we have calling our cabinet secretary right now is a joke. That they ain't serious with what they put there and who they put there as a cabinet secretary. One of these days we're going to pull a certain document and show you why them ain't serious, who them choose as a cabinet secretary and put there. So those are the only two inside the cap. All the others are the senators and the MPs who are inside there. And all of them would be part of the political structure. So when you want to have your executive meeting together with those that you have Zooming in, you could do that outside. Cabinet meeting is supposed to discuss the country's issues, not the party issues. And it shows you the level of disrespect that this group of individuals have for you, me, the state of Grenada, and institutions. So when I asked the question the other night of our political leader about institutions and how she believes people are treating with institutions now, you understand why people are losing trust in institutions in Grenada. It is why the Prime Minister, according to a good friend of mine, has lost control of this country. Because he talk about jab, the moment he talk about it, then self you start to see jab. It's to see, where it was, Roselle, Montrose, wherever it is yesterday, and some of those places, and them jab all over. He's lost control of the country. So typical kind of behavior, revisionist history now, trying to revise what was said in the past. He come back now with some jab stupidness on the boat yesterday. And thinks now that that is fooling the people who were already upset with him. No, they're seeing through it. Because you see, these individuals do not understand they're speaking to intelligent people. They feel they're talking to little children who are now teaching and don't know anything. That is what they believe. So when it comes to things like this, there is no situation. Ask any former parliamentarian who is being honest with themselves. Ask any. If you know from other countries, ask them. Ask them if members of the political organization does be part of any cabinet meeting. It is a disrespect to the system. It might even be bordering on illegal. Because when you enter to the cabinet, you take an oath. There's an oath that you have to take at the cabinet level. Have the members of the NDC taken this cabinet oath? I don't care what stage it is at, because I'm seeing the messages by different people saying, oh yes, I was there and I was viewing. How you end up there? Now we realize it's virtually that these individuals, not once, not twice, but nearly at every cabinet meeting, are signing in to cabinet meetings. What kind of joke we have here? I've never heard of that. And it is not good for our democracy. Because there are issues that are discussed at the cabinet level that should stay right there. Because there is a code, an oath at the cabinet level. There are issues that are discussed there that should stay right there. We don't know what some of these people and them signing in and listening to and hearing and all kind of thing. People apply, even if you apply for a piece of land and going up to cabinet, you know. All these things being discussed at cabinet. So you tell me people who are not part of cabinet, who could talk, seeing and hearing these things? Come on, man. Something seriously had to be wrong with us as a people if we believe that that sort of thing is okay. And I'm going to reopen the phone lines because I realize one or two folks have been trying to call. So I'll reopen the phone lines. But there's also the other issue. And that is the issue of the National Lottery Authority. And in fact, you know what? Let me open the phone lines. Let me hold the phone lines still. We could talk. We had a whole week to talk. Yeah? And I am particularly concerned about the National Lottery Authority issue because of this. One, there was a minister in charge of the National Lottery Authority in the person of Ron Redhead. The corruption that former Senator Lacret is speaking about, the corruption he's speaking about, was taking place under the watch of Ron Redhead. So I doubt that's the reason he get fired. I doubt that's the reason he get fired. Because it is obvious that Ron Redhead never brought this issue to cabinet. And I say that with certainty because if Ron Redhead had been paying attention in his ministry, let me not even say what he was doing, but instead of doing what he was doing, if he was paying attention in his ministry and reading the briefs that were coming from the National Lottery Authority, and here's how it happens. The board of directors, the chairman of the board would report to the minister. They talk to the permanent secretary and so, but they could also report directly to the minister. Minister, we had a meeting yesterday, this is what happened and so on. The minister would also receive copy of the board documents, the conclusions, the financials, everything. It's obvious Ron Redhead either was not paying attention or he was paying attention and maybe there was some benefit that he was getting from it. But there has to be an answer as to why all of that corruption that was taking place there. All kind of, watch. Imagine payments were being made without invoices. Payments to companies owned by board members were being made without invoices to show what the payments are being requested for, or if the payments were even requested. You had all these sort of things taking place, and you telling me you as a minister sit down there, and you ain't know that going on? And why is it that only when there was a change, and Jonathan Lacret came in, was it that the staff felt comfortable to talk to him? To the point where one staff member, let him give the story for himself. Because remember, before I go to that, remember, in all, there have been 4 ministers involved in the National Lottery Authority. Only one has spoken out about corruption. So you had Ron Redhead, who was there for probably about, what, 18 months? 16 months, something like that. Over a year, he was there anyhow. So you have him, who was the minister with responsibility for the National Lottery Authority while that corruption was taking place. You also had, after you had Jonathan Lacret, you had Mr. Dave Andrew, who was the substantive minister with responsibility for the National Lottery Authority. He didn't last as long as Williamson Farr. Maybe he saw what Mr. Lacret saw and decided, hey, me want nothing to do with that, you know. Because remember, that announcement was made on the 1st of August, and Mr. Dave Andrew really never held the position for long. Because right after that, he took a month off. Maybe he said, me, I ain't going to get up in that. So he took a month off. While he was supposed to be holding the position, yeah, it's gazetted, he took a month off around that time. Remember that one, where he disappeared for a month? And we wasn't sure if he ill, if something, whatever it was, but he disappeared. And then the minister who acted was Delma Thomas. And the minister who is now the minister is Delma Thomas. And the same individuals who Mr. Lacret has been speaking about, who you've heard Ms. Jenny Simon speaking about, are still in the positions they are and still doing the things that Mr. Lacret raised issues on, and Ms. Jenny Simon and Simon says raised issue on, but the Prime Minister seems to have absolutely no problems with. But let's hear.
Now, let us talk about your stewardship in that Ministry of Youth and Sports. Because a lot of administrative issues came up, which we will get into with respect to that ministry. One of the major administrative issues that we pressed the Prime Minister on, of course, we should refuse to give answers to. Actually, you might be able to shed some light on this. Was your concerns with respect to how the board at the Grenada Lotteries Authority was being managed by the board chairman and by other members of the board. Was that an issue coming into that ministry, first and foremost, that you observed as a difficulty that you needed to address as a line minister? So stop there.
I came into the Ministry of Youth and Sports January of 2024.
Yes.
I immediately got to work, and I must posit at this particular juncture that as a career public servant, coming into the politics, I settled down almost immediately into the two ministries that I was privileged to lead as the policy lead at that particular point in time. Of course, you have to get accustomed to the nuances of the ministry or the sector and the do's and don'ts of the sector, etc., the technical operational aspects of the sectors. But from an administrative and managerial perspective, I settled down, and from a leadership perspective, I settled down pretty quickly and pretty well in those two ministries. Let me be honest with you. I believe that myself and the permanent secretary at the time were very late to the Tea Party. Extremely late. I remember meeting one of the workers of the National Lotteries Authority in the supermarket, and they said to me, Minister, you and PS plan to come and have a meeting with us anytime soon? And we said, yes, it's on the list. We're just trying to get our ducks in a row and ensure that we meet with all stakeholders in a very orderly and timely fashion, but National Lottery Authority is on the list. And within weeks, and within weeks of that meeting, and within weeks of that encounter, I met another member of staff who requested that we come and have a meeting with the staff because the staff is under tremendous pressure. They're not being allowed to function in the areas that they have been hired to function in. They are being disrespected. So there were a lot of institutional and organizational issues raised by these two staff members. I did flag them with the permanent secretary because, at the end of the day, she is the accounting officer for the sector anyway. Politicians come, politicians go. So as a result of that, I flagged it with the PS and I said to her, let's see how we can rearrange the series of meetings that we have planned so that we can push National Lotteries Authority up the schedule ladder. Yes? And I said to her, I'm not going to go with you. I'm going to go for myself. So I'm going to go for myself. To not create the aura of a crash down or a storming. It's just the minister casually going to chat with staff to hear their concerns, etc., and to meet with those who requested the meeting, which I did. And when I met with the members of the finance department of the National Lotteries Authority, they pinpointed to me some discrepancies and some financial improprieties that they feel needed to be addressed, because one staff member said to me, I am not going to jail for this, Minister. I am not. As somebody who has worked in finance for a number of years, this should not be happening, and I am not going to jail for this. And as a result of that, I decided to ask for the financials for a particular period, and in screening through the financials, I found some financial improprieties, and I went straight to the permanent secretary and I said, PS, we need to deal with this in a very systematic and a very diplomatic manner. And we agreed that it must be brought before the body who constituted the board of directors in the first place, which is the Cabinet of Grenada. So that took place on the 31st of May, that was a Friday, and I went to the Cabinet on Monday, June 3rd, with all the information that I had. And I laid it before them as it relates to what are we going to do about this particular situation.
Can you articulate or can you shed some light? I'm not too sure how much you can share.
Yes, folks. So, yes, that's the Lotto situation. You heard it from the person who was directly involved in it, that this is what was happening, that he saw financial improprieties taking place, and he brought it, excuse me, he brought it up at the cabinet level. Ron didn't do it. Ron was there in charge for how long that was taking place, and Ron did not do it. He did it. Give Jackie jacket. Give Jackie jacket. He did it. But the worst part out of this is not only that he did it, but that you have a sitting minister who call themselves Christian right now. Yes, they call themselves Christian right now, sitting in charge of the National Lottery Authority as the minister in charge in the person of Delma Thomas. And you telling me all of this thing has happened with the National Lottery Authority, and you ain't saying anything? You in charge of the National Lottery Authority, you ain't go to the Prime Minister and say, Prime Minister, this thing taking place, and it's wrong. And as a Christian, I cannot sit in charge of this corruption that I'm seeing. As a Christian, you sit down on top of it and you're enjoying it. Yeah? You sit down on it and you're enjoying it. And then when the Prime Minister does speak on the issue, on the narrative on the 30th of November last year, what does the Prime Minister say?
But would things like that worry you in terms of the optics politically? I mean,
No, I think
you know, there are a bunch of people now with too much time on their hands trying to get their job back because of corruption issues.
We're as transparent a government, I think, as we have seen in my
And we all know that's a blasted lie.
lifetime, for sure. And I think if any issues arises and there's credible evidence of stuff, as a Prime Minister, I'm prepared to deal with it. But what I would
We also know that's a lie.
not...
Did you look into the Lotto matter, though?
Yes, I looked at
Because I looked into it, and there seemed to have been a bit of credibility to some of the issues.
I looked into the issue and I just said to you, which is why I talked about how you handle conflicts in terms of what the legislation says and what has to happen, right? So I'm saying when people just simply make spurious allegations and come up with all kinds of fanciful stuff.
And take note that he said the legislation and what the legislation says. Yeah, we have time. We go dive in that.
You have to be careful that you don't allow people to draw you in and to make decisions as if you are Jesus Christ and he who is at the third sin cast the first stone. I'm saying the very nature of our laws recognize that you have situations where someone who serves on a board may have their firm or their business and so on bidding for work that a particular entity is offering. And there's a process and procedure that has to be followed. So I'm saying if someone makes, and you're saying it where I look into the Lotto thing simply because I'm hearing media allegations, if someone makes a credible accusation, we will obviously...
And imagine the minister presented documentation to cabinet, to the Prime Minister, and he's saying if somebody makes a credible... So in other words, he's saying that documentation is not credible.
Decisions that has to be made. But too often, and I think the National Democratic Congress government in the past was allowed itself to be hoodwinked into trying to go after its own and into trying to punish its own and to hold itself at that standard that's almost impossible. When other people are doing all kind of things left, right, and center and getting away with it. So
he's the Prime Minister now. He doesn't have to let anybody get away with anything.
So I'm saying we are living in a society where nobody's perfect. And we have to be careful that we don't try and hold people in public office to a perfect standard and then try to hold them.
You all hear nonsense. So we shouldn't hold people to a perfect standard. What should we hold them to? You hold them to a perfect standard. If they fall below, you deal with it at that level. But you must hold your public officials to a perfect standard. That is why you put them there. So you're supposed to put people into a position and expect them to thief, expect them to be corrupt, expect them to only take care of their friends and family. You must hold them to a perfect standard. That is the reason that they are there. That is the reason that we gave them all the perks that they get. That is the reason that we give them the salary that they get. The red passport they get that they could travel all over the world quickly. The opportunity to travel that they get. The reason they get all of these things is because we hold them to a high standard, a near perfect standard. So for the Prime Minister to be telling you that, he's telling the people within the cabinet, if all you want to be crook, be crook. No wonder you could have Andy Williams in a cabinet with you. No wonder. And that's not the only thing he said on that Lotto issue, you know, when he spoke on that Lotto issue another time.
I know you've said on several occasions, Prime Minister, I saw all of the interviews you did with Callistra and others, as well as the press conference, that you will not speak to the reasons why you have lost confidence in Mr. Lacret. But the question remains, Prime Minister, is the loss of confidence in Mr. Lacret related to disagreements over how both of you handled allegations of conflict of interest with members of the lottery and stadium boards? Is there a gag order placed on Mr. Lacret so that he cannot speak on those issues as well? What is the reality here, Minister? Because both of you gentlemen seem very opaque to really articulate and flesh out why you lost that confidence. I'm trying one last time.
Obviously, I can't have a gag order on anybody. I'm not a judge in a court. And as you've indicated, yes, Mr. Lacret has resigned as a member of the National Democratic Congress. And so even if you think that it was a gag order, he's no longer a member of the party. And so he's free to speak, and I'm free to speak. And as I said, one of the things we have to appreciate, I think, about political life as well is that too often we frankly say stuff that should simply remain confidential. When I asked any member of the National Democratic Congress to serve in the cabinet, and they agreed graciously to accept that responsibility. It's a heavy responsibility. I completely accept that because I serve in the cabinet. And if we get to a point where, as a prime minister, I lose confidence in them, I honestly don't think it is in their interest or my interest, even if the laundry is dirty, to wash it in public. That's not me. That's not my style. You probably even notice oftentimes I don't even criticize the opposition. Because
the same man who went and stand up in the Grenada Trade Center and say that they have a cabinet conclusion. Yeah, okay, you don't criticize the opposition who talk about the faith program and give the impression. Up to today, again, spoke about the faith program indirectly and giving all sorts of innuendos and accusations.
Need to, I think, stay focused on policy. And not
stay focused on policy. The man that went to Parliament and talking about mother hen, the same man that talking there.
Personality, and I appreciate it's a little more salivating. It's a little more exciting.
But except in this case, but no, Prime Minister, except in this case with Mr. Lacret, there is an issue here of policy as well in respect of the governance of or his functioning as minister in a particular ministry in which he had policy disagreements, or at least the allegation is that he had policy disagreements with you over the functioning of the state statutory board.
No, I'm saying, is that has he said so? I've not heard him say so. I've heard.
But no, we've heard.
That's what I'm saying.
No, that was last year, and now we into this year. Yeah, but this is, I mean, let me just find something here quickly. Yeah, I'll first go to the National Lotteries Act. Yeah, and let me pull it up as I speak about it. The National Lotteries Act. Now, it speaks here in Section 9 about disclosure of interest. And we'll go down, we'll go to Section 9. And it speaks here to disclosure of interest, right? This is what the Prime Minister is referring to when he says the law makes provision. And I'll tell you where I'm going with this. Section 9 says, a member who is in any way, whether directly or indirectly interested in an application to the authority or for a proposed contract with the authority, shall declare the nature of his or her interest at the first meeting of the authority at which it is possible for him or her to do so. A member shall not vote in respect of any application to the authority, in respect of any contract or proposed contract with the authority in which he or she is in any way interested, whether directly or indirectly. It means that if you are a board member and you have a company, and your company is going to do any business with the board that you're on, in this case, the National Lottery Authority. So you are selling products. The National Lottery Authority needs those products. That if your company is going to bid, that you have to separate yourself from any discussion in relation to that. What makes it difficult in this situation is that you're speaking at the chairperson of the authority. And at some level, during their interactions, because their company is doing business with the National Lottery Authority from all indications, at some point in there, they will have to breach the disclosure of interest part, because they will have to interact at some level on that particular issue. They're the chairperson, but not just that. Let's forget the National Lotteries Authority Act for now. And let's go to the Integrity in Public Life Act. And let me just see if I can find the section here. Yeah. Yes, I'm just searching for the section here. Right. So, that's 24, right? So let's just bring this across here, because it's speaking to how people in public life, and that is not just for parliamentarians. This is for people who are on statutory bodies, in particular the chairpersons, deputy chairpersons, etc. And it says here, a person in public life shall not allow his or her private interests to conflict with his or her public position. It shall be the responsibility of the person in public life to avoid such conflicts of interest, whether real, potential, or apparent. So whether it is happening, it could happen, or it looks like it's happening. Yeah? A person in public life shall not take advantage of his or her position for his or her private interest. In other words, if your company, you're the chairperson of a board, and your company is offering a service that other companies are offering, you should not use your position on the board to make sure that your company is the only one that gets it. Because you could leave the room and be written as leaving the room, but the rest of the board, no, hey, you better make sure that man company that gets it. It says here, a person in public life shall always conduct himself or herself in such a way that the public's confidence and trust in the integrity, impartiality, and effectiveness of the public service are preserved and enhanced. Are we seeing that in this case? This is the Integrity in Public Life Act 2013. Yes, 2013, when NNP came in. Yeah, the Integrity in Public Life Act. You see it here? Nice. That is what it speaks to, those kinds of situations. And I'm saying here tonight that there is absolutely no reason that that individual has to remain as the chairman of the board of the National Lottery Authority unless there is some crooked deal between that individual and the members of the cabinet that have them there. That's what I'm saying. There's no need. Because, of course, this is Grenada. We could have found somebody else to place in that position. You telling me that is what, Mr. Batiste is the only person in the state of Grenada that you could find to be the chairman of the board of the National Lottery Authority? That is the only person that we have in the whole of Grenada to avoid this conflict. If he want to do business with it, he need to leave. Or in fact, he shouldn't even need to leave. The moment he started doing what he was doing, any cabinet, any prime minister, any minister with morals would have fired him immediately. Any one of them would have fired him immediately. Remember, there were a lot of applications for statutory bodies, and in case you all forget,
we would be opening up particularly state-owned enterprises, government statutory bodies, and other committees to members of the public who wish to serve. To assist us in doing this, we have created an expression of interest portal, which we have publicized on social media, so that members of the public who wish to serve can in fact submit their expressions of interest, submit their resume, their background, as well as an indication of the entities that they may wish to serve on. I'm happy to report that this was launched only 5 days ago, and we've received as much as of last night, 1,007 expressions of interest.
So they got 1,007 expressions of interest of different people that wanted to serve on state bodies and state boards, including that same National Lottery Authority. 1,007. You telling me that 1,007 they could not find another person, even now, to replace Mr. Batiste? And remember, it's going to be way over 1,007 because by now, that 1,007 increased. That was 5 days after they started the process of taking names. Yeah?
Expressions of interest. I think that in and of itself, in a very short period, demonstrates the willingness and the keenness, the excitement that Grenadians feel in being given the opportunity to serve their nation. We have begun looking at the expressions of interest. We've begun filtering them. The tool we are using is quite useful and has allowed us to be able to come up with some analysis of where the expressions of interest are coming and the demographics surrounding the expressions of interest. And I just want to, by way of example, share some of that with you. So of the 1,007 expressions of interest that we received, 59% is female and 41% male. In relation to persons who are residing outside of Grenada, we have 73 persons who've applied who reside in the United States, 17 who reside in Canada, 17 who reside in the United Kingdom, 14 who reside in Canada, 11 from Trinidad and Tobago, 25 from other countries. We've got 6 from Barbados, 5 from St. Kitts and Nevis. Of course, happily, the bulk is from Grenada. We have 853 applicants from Grenada, representing 85% of the persons who've indicated.
So there it is. You're telling me we have, out of all of those people that he had at that point in time, 5 days after opening the portal, they had 1,007 people applying to become board members, chairman, deputy chair, just ordinary board members, etc. You had that amount, and you're telling me up to this point in time, you have to allow a person who, according to the Integrity in Public Life Act, should not be holding that position by this point in time, and who, even with the National Lottery Authority Act, is directly in conflict. You're telling me that that person, you can find nobody to replace them? That's a serious embarrassment to the 800 and something people locally, all the other people regionally and internationally who apply. None of them could be the chairperson of the National Lottery Authority, or is it that you all have a special relationship with the present manager and the director of the board of the National Lottery Authority? Is it that you all have a special relationship with these individuals? Is that the case? We're asking a question here. Do you all have a special relationship as the NDC, National Democratic Congress, with these individuals, and in particular the board chairman, and even probably the other members of the board? Because if I was sitting on a board and that kind of thing going on, I resign immediately. You ain't dragging me down with you. I telling you straight. I sat on different boards before, and if I sitting on a board of directors and that kind of thing taking place, I am immediately resigning. I ain't letting them go down with me like that. So to see this taking place, and to understand that you had so many people, and that was when, on the 19th of July 2022, the Prime Minister was making that statement, that they had 1,007 people. 1,007 people you had there as applications to go on, same thing like the National Lottery Authority and all of that. And you're telling me none of them could replace the individual that's there right now, who has a direct conflict of interest because they are supplying goods. And we're hearing that that same situation, according to George Worm, that same situation with the same individual manifested itself at the gravel and concrete statutory body. So it's not a first place that kind of thing taking place. We are hearing that the same thing with that same individual at Lotto took place at the gravel and concrete. Talking after all your own people. So I've shown you all the laws. I've shown you all the laws. So you're telling me that nobody else could hold that position? Nobody else could do that? Come on, man. Really and truly. But then we know the Prime Minister is only interested in one thing, really. And since his wings have been clipped, we know that he has been daydreaming about travel and that kind of thing. Yeah, we know he's been daydreaming. I was listening to him Sunday, and I realized he's still daydreaming about traveling and them kind of thing. Let me see. Wait now, where are you going? No, you come back here. Nice. Yeah, thing here. Yeah, he's still daydreaming about traveling.
Deliberate diplomatic relations with as many African countries as possible. Right. We are pursuing visa waiver agreements with our brothers and sisters in Africa. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know what you, Terry, but when people talk about the bucket list, my bucket list is to go to Africa. My bucket list is to go and see
do it when you're no longer Prime Minister. Stop trying to do your bucket list on, the taxpayers of Grenada. We ain't there on that.
Go to South Africa and to see where the great leader Nelson Mandela was incarcerated, and yet still after 20 plus years of imprisonment, he didn't come out bitter, he didn't come out resentful, but he was able to bring the rainbow nation of Africa together. So I think when we want to fire up our young people's imagination, when you want to see elephants and all the exotic animals of the world.
Yeah, do that on your own. Don't take we time and money and go and do that. Do that on your own. Go and watch elephant, zebra, hyena, all kind of. Go and do that on your own. Yeah, don't try to use we money to complete your bucket list. Yeah? And folks, for those of you that don't understand what a bucket list is, a bucket list is a list of things that you want to do before you die. So the Prime Minister's bucket list is he wants to go to Africa. He went to Africa already, yeah? But he wants to go to Africa and see lion, tiger, zebra, all them kind of things.
We have been pursuing deliberate diplomatic relations with as many African countries as possible. We are pursuing visa waiver agreements with our brothers and sisters in Africa.
Oh, you want to be able to travel easier? Okay, all right. Nice.
Because I don't know what you, Terry, but when people talk about the bucket list, my bucket list is to go to Africa. My bucket list is to go and see, have a safari. My bucket list is to go to South Africa and to see where the great leader Nelson Mandela was incarcerated, and yet still after 20 plus years of imprisonment, he didn't come out bitter, he didn't come out resentful, but he was able to bring the rainbow nation of Africa together. So I think when we want to fire up our young people's imagination, when you want to see elephants and all the exotic animals of the world, they're still in Africa. And we have to fight to help our brothers and sisters in Africa preserve those things so that we and our children and our children's children could get the ability to see those marvels and the wonders of the world.
But not on we tax dollars, no. Now, do it on your own. We go remove you as Prime Minister, just how long as Prime Minister again? Just make a mistake and call the election. Yeah? make that mistake. Go ahead. Yeah, call an election. You'll get to see all of Africa you want to see on your own without have to be worrying about putting Andy as Prime Minister and what you go do when you're gone. You'll get to go. You understand? We could make sure that you get to go Africa. You could spend your own money to go, but we could make sure that you go. Or maybe it might tax Dangote, he might give you a little trip. You never know, he might send a plane for you. But you won't get to go, but not on the taxpayers of Grenada. You understand? Yeah, you'll get to go. Folks, quickly running out of time. In fact, wow. I say we quickly running out of time. We actually out of time. And I'm not going to go too much extra tonight. Just to let you all know, tomorrow night we are going to be having Mrs. Nolene Thompson on with us, pre-recorded. She's not going to be live. I'm letting you all know now she's not going to be live. Pre-recorded tomorrow night. She's going to be on with us. So we will be having a discussion, and we will still have time to be able to take some calls and do some other things as well tomorrow night. All right, folks? So, as usual, in everything you say and do it safe and secure. Want to be speaking to and with you, and definitely not about you. And I think we must have a tune somewhere that is more than suitable to end tonight's program. No, not you. You only moved it, not all you. No, let me move those. With them thing there. Nice, yeah, let me move them thing there. Not that. I'm sure I have a tune. Where that tune go? I have a tune there that I'm absolutely positive would be the perfect tune to end tonight. Yeah, I think this one go. Yes, right, nice, folks. Yes, indeed. So, folks, remember tomorrow night we'll be on once again with talking points for you. Yeah.
Hear me now, NDC. Let me see you show me